coming back to you from another day in the Philippines. A little rainy today, a little windy, and talking about today is exactly 1 year since I started YouTube. Started my YouTube channel exactly 1 year ago today and launched it, and wanted to talk about really why I started my YouTube channel, what has happened over the course of the YouTube channel, answering just basic questions about YouTube and YouTube in general. So I originally started my YouTube channel when I was in Albania. I had been outside of the United States for roughly about little over 2 months. I'd been outside the United States, and I just decided I would start posting videos there. My original idea behind it, and I did a video when I reached 100 subscribers on this topic, but in fact, if it still exists, I'll put it up here somewhere. But basically, I was wanting to have a place that I could host videos for free so that my friends and family back home could start my journey, to have my own personal video diary of all of my experiences, so years from now I could go back and watch those and enjoy those, and YouTube gave me free video storage. So I was setting it up, and before I actually launched my very first video, I was talking to a friend who had been considering YouTube for a long time, and we were talking about how long it would take to organically, without pushing it out to friends and family, without using social media, just throwing stuff up, how long it would take to get to 100 subscribers. And so I had different predictions on what that would be. So my initial predictions were that it would take about 4 to 6 months to get 100 subscribers. He thought it would be much less than that. It actually turned out that it took me 4.5 weeks to get 100 subscribers. And the reason for that was I was just at the right place at the right time. So I launched my very first video. It's here somewhere, you can see it, which was basically why I had moved to Albania in 2021. And after 10 days, that video, with no pushing on my part, with nobody else but one friend in the world knowing it was there, had gotten 1,000 views, which isn't a lot, but it's a lot for a brand new, unknown channel to put out its first video. And so I started finding it fascinating. And then my original prediction was it would take me approximately 1 to 2 years to get 1,000 subscribers and get the watch time hours, which is 4,000 that you need to get monetized. And it actually took, I think it took 9 months. 9 months to get the 1,000. And that was part of the journey, which I'll kind of discuss in here as we go forward. So my journey started in Albania, and I did a series of vlogs about Albania, and they did very, very well. Most of them got several hundred views. It wasn't a big YouTube channel, and it was growing steadily over time to where I'd gotten around, I was about 150, 200 subscribers when I moved to the next country, which was Serbia. And then in Serbia, my channel, I want to say blew up, but it didn't really blow up in the grand scheme of things, but I quickly started gaining subscribers. I quickly started getting lots of views. Most of my videos there were getting at least a couple thousand views when I'd release them. My biggest video of all time up until I came to the Philippines there got like 33,000 views on it. So it was really good. Again, wasn't monetized, but by the time I left Serbia, I had roughly, I think, about 845 subscribers. Which was really good. It was like in spitting distance of being monetized. And I was talking to a friend of mine who also does YouTube. He was a much bigger channel than I was. And when I was going to Thailand, he's like, you're gonna lose all of your subscribers that were watching you there, and your channel's gonna crash and burn. There's all these other channels that have gone to Thailand and they're now failing that left Serbia. And I'm like, I know that, I understand that, but I don't choose where I'm going to based on YouTube. YouTube's a hobby. It's always been a hobby. And so when I went to Thailand, I started posting videos there, and exactly as he predicted, he was exactly right. No one watched the videos. It didn't matter if my videos were good or bad. YouTube thought all of my people were back in Europe, specifically in Serbia, and so that's who they were showing videos to. And those people had no interest on what was going on in Thailand. So there were things that I could have done to have jump-started my channel in Thailand, but in all honesty, like I say, it was a hobby. So I was posting when I felt like it. I actually did a lot of videos in Thailand that I've just never released, because I was getting views of like 30, 40 views when I'd post a video, and it just wasn't worth it to me. So I've got all those videos stored up. I don't know, I probably will never post those. I'll just use those for myself and share them out with friends and family. Maybe one day I'll put out a private group or something where people who are really interested can watch them. But I didn't post them. And so when I came to the Philippines, I did 4 or 5 videos, and they weren't getting much more views than I was getting in Thailand, quite frankly. And then I decided that, you know, after talking to a friend, okay, fine, I'm going to get this thing monetized. Because my original goal when I started the channel was I wanted to get to 1,000 subscribers. Get it to 1,000 subscribers, get it monetized, and then I would decide if I wanted to continue to do this as a hobby or not, or if I would make everything private and literally just let my family and friends see it. And so I studied everything really deep. I had a pretty good idea of how to do it anyway. And then I made it to where it got monetized. And so it took like 9.5 months to get from 0 to 1,000 subscribers. And it took, to get from 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers, my second 1,000 subscribers, it took 2 days. And so now I'm coming up on the year mark, and I'm just under about 18,000 subscribers. So it's grown very quickly in the Philippines. And here is what I have learned from that experience and what happens behind the scenes in YouTube. Again, mine is a hobby. It's not one that I ever expected to do as a career like a lot of people do, and some of them do quite well. But here's what I learned. So I see a lot of people in the comments talking about how you can come to the Philippines as a foreigner and you get all these views, and you know your channels are just going to blow up, and you know you're going to get so much support. That's true, and it's not true. For every single YouTuber that comes to the Philippines that does very well in the Philippines, I can show you 20 foreigners in the Philippines that have YouTube channels that have done dozens, sometimes hundreds of videos, and they barely have a couple thousand subscribers. They're lucky if they're getting 100 or 200 views. It just doesn't work that way. You have to have something that is interesting to people, Filipinos, foreigners, whoever, on the YouTube channel, and you have to be producing content that people are interested in, and most importantly, you're dependent upon YouTube to actually push that content out there. If you're just using the algorithm to do it, it may or may not ever show your content to the right people. So I've had videos that I knew was going to do good, that I knew would get 100,000 views if I posted it. And in 4 of those videos, 3 or 4 of those videos, I was absolutely right, they did. Another one that I posted that I assumed would have gotten that, literally got it got 50, 60,000 views, can't remember. And it got all of those views in 2 days. And then it completely stopped getting any more views. It was just done because YouTube was not going to show it to anybody else for whatever reason. Although I have a feeling I know why on that one. So when you're dependent upon the algorithm, you have to either keep producing the same mundane content over and over and over again that gets you views if you're wanting to do that for a living. Or in my case, if you're doing it as a hobby, you don't care so much for that. It's still good to know that people are getting value out of the things you produce and so forth. And that kind of brings me to the final part about my channel, and I'll wrap this up very quickly, is that what my audience is. So my YouTube channel is just my goofy life. You know, it's not really an expat channel. It's not really a, you know, travel channel. It's just my goofy life going around the world. And so I have 3 very distinct audiences that are fairly large. One, I have a very large Filipino audience, and the types of videos that they like to see are completely different than the other audiences that I have. The second largest audience that I have is foreigners who are either interested in moving to the Philippines, have lived in the Philippines, they have some sort of connection to the Philippines, they're dating someone from the Philippines, And that whole group of people is a very, not only large segment of my viewership, but also a very vocal one. They're asking all kinds of comments and so forth in the sections. The videos that they would want to see don't translate to as many views as the ones my Filipino audience wants to see, which is much larger. And in some ways very, very loyal. They'll watch a lot of the stuff you put out as long as it's decent content they're interested in. And then I have a third group that is, again, this is actually OFWs. It's Filipino OFWs. And again, the content they're wanting to see is different than really the content both of those others are wanting to see. The noise pollution in the Philippines, hammering of the coconuts. So they're wanting to see home. They're wanting to see the foods, and they're wanting to see the things that they can buy at the stores that they can't get where they get there. And I do some of that content just because, you know, I know a lot of OFWs. I have a family full of them, and I know that they miss home. And so I feel a duty just to show some of that stuff, regardless. I mean, I'm not going to make any money on it or not going to get a lot of views on it, but at least those folks are going to get to see a little piece of home, and that makes them happy, and that means I'm giving value to someone, and that's really what it is. So I'm kind of at a crossroads on my channel that I've got to decide, you know, which audience am I going to cater to. And right now I'm doing some videos for myself. I'm doing some videos for the expat questions that people are wanting to answer. Those don't get many views, but again, they want those things, and there's enough people out there, several thousand, that are asking about them that I feel kind of a duty, since they've watched my channel, to try to get those questions answered for them. And then just the entertaining content that I would like to do of showing off the Philippines. Every country I go to, but particularly because the Philippines has a special place in my heart, I want to show what is so good about this country. Not necessarily because I want people to move here, but I want the outside world to see it, so they'll come visit, so they'll support the tourist industry, which helps jobs for Filipinos, and also Filipinos who don't necessarily get to travel to different parts of their country, that they can get to see some things that maybe, you know, your average vlogger, foreign vlogger doesn't go to. Some of these off the beaten paths that I find incredibly interesting for myself. They're building memories for me, but maybe they're also showing, you know, some people their own country that don't get to go and see everything in the country. So anyway, that's my journey. That's, you know, a long rant, but I wanted to go ahead and put that out there. And most importantly, I wanted to thank each and every one of you that supported my channel, especially locals. In every country that I've gone to, the Philippines, Serbia, Albania, Thailand, I get locals that recommend things to me, places that I can go that I never would have found out on my own, or I would have had to have done hundreds of hours of research, and they have been so generous with telling me where to go, what to see, how to get off the beaten path. And that has been the value that it has given back to me doing YouTube. So thanks so much, guys. I don't know how long this video will stay up, but it'll be here for a little bit. Take care.